Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I am doing yet another unscripted video. I kinda really just wanted to talk into a microphone for a bit instead of script this week. I feel like I've done a load of scripts but I haven't actually recorded them, and I feel like I need a little bit of a break where I can just kind of talk into a microphone. So I hope you understand that I'm just doing that and not, you know, trying to milk videos or whatever. This is a topic I've been thinking about for quite a while now. I technically touched on it a long time ago, back when the 35th anniversary was being talked about and which 3D game I could see being remastered next, and of course I thought it was going to be Skyward Sword HD or a collection of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and well, while the collection didn't happen, Skyward Sword HD was revealed and released just after that, really, which is great. I think really that's kind of spurred me on to make this video because Skyward Sword HD is the final remake, or remaster, sorry, that the Zelda series needed before we're all caught up. We're back to Breath of the Wild, and I can't imagine them doing Breath of the Wild HD on the next console. We get a new Zelda game at the minute, or a new side Zelda game or whatever, every year. So we've had Hyrule Warriors to fill in these gaps, we've had both of the Hyrule Warriors games, I mean, we've had a lot. We've had Cadence of Hyrule, Link's Awakening, Breath of the Wild of course, Skyward Sword HD, all of these games that come out yearly just separate from each other, which is interesting because now that we've been all caught up on the HD remasters, having Ocarina of Time 3D be a thing, talk about that a bit later on, Majora's Mask 3D, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and Skyward Sword HD all be a thing now, and with Breath of the Wild being on a HD console, it really does beg the question, what could be the next game in the franchise to be remade, I guess. I don't feel like remasters are really going to be in the works anymore. It really depends on what they really want to change with the games, but I feel like from now on, if they want to do these games, they're going to have to do them from the ground up, which in my opinion is extremely interesting, and I would like to explore each of the games and whether they shouldn't be remade, because there is actually a Twitter post a while ago I saw where a news outlet was saying something about, oh, Skyward Sword should have had a remake. It's the game that should have had a remake out of all of them instead of like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And I can see where they're coming from, considering the game is underdeveloped in some areas, I would say, and I feel like a remake could maybe justify something like that. But with Skyward Sword having a HD remaster that released very recently, I can't imagine them doing a remake for Skyward Sword anytime soon. So, let's talk about every single Zelda game in this entire video in order. So, Ocarina, Majora, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. We're going to talk about each one and whether I feel like they should remake it, and if they do, what stuff could change. So let's get into it. First of all, Ocarina of Time. So, this one is a peculiar case. There have been two games that have technically been remade, and to be honest, these remakes, in my opinion, maybe Majora's Mask not so much, but they are the definitive ways to play each game. Ocarina of Time 3D obviously changed a whole lot. The graphics were absolutely amazing compared to the N64 version, and this carried over to Majora's Mask as well, of course. And I think the dungeons actually really hold up still. Majora's Mask dungeons still aren't as good, of course, but overall I feel like those dungeons do hold up, especially in a world where Wind Waker is by many considered to be a spectacular Zelda game, myself included. I think the dungeons, while they're a little bit lackluster, the game was still great for them. And I think Majora's Mask, in a world where people still love Majora's Mask and Wind Waker, the dungeons do hold up fine. With that said, Ocarina of Time, I think, would be great for a remake. It is technically next in line for a remaster or a remake. They could remaster Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but I feel like that would be weird. Especially in a world where we've just had a Skyward Sword remaster and it's HD and it looks great and it's, you know, it's everything we could have ever wanted. It's dropped some streamlining bits and it's also gotten rid of some of the jagged edges that made the game a little bit more annoying to play visually. So I feel like Ocarina of Time, it's more in the line for a remake, but at the same time, it's also one of the two games that's had a remake. It's a hard and peculiar case where I don't really know. The other few games, apart from Majora's Mask of course, I have some idea of whether or not they should do a remake on them. But at the same time, Ocarina of Time is, you know, by many, people love that game. It's the most loved in the series in terms of critical reviews. So, if any game is to be remade, I think, technically speaking, this is the most likely. I mean, people absolutely adore this game. It could come out for the 40th anniversary or something like that. There's been such a dramatic graphical upgrade between the N64 and the Nintendo Switch that I feel like they could really do it justice. That being said, the Nintendo 3DS graphics were amazing. If they just ported that one over and made it HD, maybe that would make sense. But I'm arguing semantics here, and I'm also spending way too much time since I'm unscripted and I'm just sitting here speaking into a microphone. So, overall, Ocarina of Time, I would really like to have a remake. It's definitely one of my favourite games in the series. You can check out my ranking of all the Zelda games in the top corner. I feel like it might not, purely because of the 3D remake. I am going to leave that one on hold. I'm also going to leave Majora's Mask on hold. I feel like if they do Ocarina of Time, then Majora's Mask will not be far behind. I feel like those two games go hand in hand with each other since they are connected. So we're going to have to see there. Two birds with one stone. I think both of these games are definitely in line for a remake, but since they had the 3D remake, it's not looking so likely. But if they didn't have those remakes, it'd look mega likely. So definitely keep an eye out at least. Obviously, the next 2D remaster should be the one that comes next, or the next 2D remake. But of course, after that, we are all going in for it. So, next up is Wind Waker, that loads of people still love to this day, including myself, though I still don't give it as much praise as some people. As I said about the dungeons earlier, the dungeons aren't really bad, but I do prefer most of the other dungeons in the series, though I can completely agree that the overworld is extremely fun to explore. And I feel like they've tried to emulate it with a couple of other games and they haven't quite done it right. Breath of the Wild is the only one that exceeded my expectations compared to Wind Waker's overworld. But the point is, Wind Waker HD was an amazing port. Like, a ridiculously good port. Of course, some of the colours may look a bit too vibrant to some people. I've heard that complaint quite a lot, like a weird amount really. But I feel like this game looks so good and it doesn't age so much to the point that I can't really see it being properly remade, like in a new graphical engine and everything. I think this game will always hold up, and I feel like when somebody's about to remake a game, they have to at least think, wow, graphics, okay, so let's do something new with the graphics. In terms of Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask, people have done amazing Unreal Engine 4 touch-ups and other bits, and those look amazing and look far superior to any other release of Ocarina of Time, and I could imagine a new Ocarina of Time remade looking like that. I'm sorry about the way I say Ocarina, I know a lot of people hate that, I'm sorry. But point is, Wind Waker looks so ridiculously good graphically that I can't really see it being remade anytime soon. It's aged the best out of every single 3D Zelda game, at least, I would say. Breath of the Wild is probably going to age just as well unless Breath of the Wild 2 knocks it out of the park graphically. So Wind Waker, I feel like it could be a shoo-in, but due to how good everything looks in Wind Waker HD and how much they streamlined in that game, I have a feeling that maybe they won't do that game. Again, this is all down to personal, your personal view on each game and how you feel like Nintendo looks at each game. But in my opinion, there is no reason to do Wind Waker. If they do Wind Waker, I feel like they'll just port over Wind Waker HD since it, again, looked so good. I'm sorry to keep repeating my points. I know I'm not on a script. I am confused sometimes. I'm sorry. Next up is Twilight Princess, and this is my favourite Zelda game. No bias here. I feel like this one should maybe get a remake at some point. I'm not going to say that I want a remake because I think the game is amazing in every way, or no, most ways. I think there's a few things like the bug collecting quest and the light bug collecting quest actually that could be streamlined quite a bit more, even if they were streamlined in the HD version, but I digress. I think, personally, I would just like to see Twilight Princess in Breath of the Wild's engine. I think that the game would benefit so much by having a new art style slapped onto it, but also using another art style that was in the series before, or going back and using the same art style used in the Zelda U tech demo, which would be amazing to see in action since Zelda U looked so good in the tech demo. I also think that Twilight Princess's dungeons are the best. That won't come as a shock to some old people who come to the channel. It's just my favourite game in the series. I think the overworld could do with some touching up as well. So the overworld, make that a little bit better, spruce that up, make the graphics better, since I don't think the graphics age all that well in terms of the art style. But apart from that, I feel like it is a good shoe-in, but I still feel like Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time have way more potential overall, and I feel like they will just do them too. Skyward Sword, the most polarizing 3D game. I still think that's true. I'm not sure after their HD remaster. I've seen a lot of people praising it, which is great news for me. Well, I think it's just had its HD port. There's no reason to do it all over again now. Of course, there are reasons to do this game. There's still some pretty bad pacing issues and whatever, but there's no reason to remake this game so soon, so I don't think it's really fair to bring this into the conversation. Last up is Breath of the Wild. There are a lot of things that I've seen that would make me think, wow, that game remade would be amazing. Like the ray tracing video that I've seen tons of times, and the 4K video I've seen tons of times for Breath of the Wild. Those would look absolutely amazing for Breath of the Wild. However, I don't think they're going to do that for a very long time. In fact, let's talk about this for a minute. Now that they're all caught up on the Zelda games, is there even any reason to keep going? You might as well just stop and wait for a while, and then maybe come back, remake all of the Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, all the Zelda games later on down the line. I think maybe that is a possibility at this point, which would be kind of sad, but we are spoiled as Zelda fans. I feel like we all know that by now. We are very spoiled. I'm going very far off track though. Breath of the Wild, I feel like, has a chance in the future, but not anywhere near now. I feel like graphics need to improve a lot, so then people in the future can have such a good experience with a whole new Zelda game. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, I feel like they're just suited to this more than any of the other games. I'm not going to repeat what I said earlier, because I can barely remember what I said earlier, and I would not like to repeat over and over again like the same things, and I feel like I've done that a lot already in this video. I'm sorry that this is unscripted, but I really did just feel like talking into a microphone. I'm sorry to waste so much time since I know this is going to be long still, but I thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, then please leave a like rating and subscribe. We just hit 1.7 thousand subscribers. We might even go below it. Somebody might unsubscribe. But thank you all so much for the support. It really does mean a lot, especially after the hectic couple of weeks I've had. So thank you so much. The people you can see on screen right now are my Patreon supporters, and they are all the most amazing people on earth, and Sumji is especially cool, being my top paying patron. Thank you all so much for the support, guys. If you'd like to join them, then you can for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month down in the link in the description. Along with that link is the link to the rest of my media platforms, so if you'd like to follow me on them, then you can do there. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye. Please do stay safe.